Hello everybody, this is Nino again, and in this video I am going to show you the experiments on the Arduino which demonstrate how a challenge response mechanism can operate. You realize that the Arduino has certain inputs and outputs, but the inputs and outputs could really be anything. The point here is just to show that the challenge of information can be replied to with a response of information. The Arduino has a sensors for push buttons. I'm going to further refer to those as A, B, C, and X. And it has three outputs, which are also going to be A, B, and C. The point is that X, or the anonymous input, does not have a direct instinctive connection to any one of the outputs, while each one of the other inputs is corresponding to one output LED. In other words, to teach the system a reply to X, the system must apply some form of reasoning. The first experiment is simple. We want to teach it that triple A is to be answered by triple B is to be answered by triple C, and triple C is again to be answered by triple A. The patterns here consist each one out of 3 elements. This is going to be the case throughout the 4 experiments which I'm going to show you. And just a little technical detail, each time the Arduino is ready to accept input, it will signal that by blinking all of its output LEDs simultaneously 3 times. So now, let us reset it and prepare it thereby for its first experiment. It blinks its output to signal that it can now accept the first input pattern. The first input pattern is going to be 3 A's, and as the Arduino knows nothing better, it is also going to reply to us with 3 A's, imitating our challenge. Second time, and a final time. 3 A's, and the signal of readiness for the next exchange. This time it's going to get 3 B's, as triple A is actually followed by triple B. And now again, it imitates the input by blinking 3 times its output LED corresponding to B. Now it's going to get 3 C's. First C, second C, and third C. And again, it is going to imitate that input. It did this rebouncing or imitation of the input because it knew no better response, but it is very much on the way to learn everything what is needed for the pattern exchange. Because you see, when we input 3 A's, it replied with 3 A's, and then we input again 3 B's. It could learn from that the 3 B's are a proper response to the 3 A's. The same thing happened with the B's and the C's. When it was blinking 3 times its B LED, we were inputting 3 C's, so it did learn also that B is answered by C. When I now, therefore, input 3 A's, this input of 3 A's will have happened after its last output of 3 C's. So it will also learn the final missing puzzle element. The 3 C's are to be answered by 3 A's. So let's try it out. And if it has learned correctly, then it should not answer to a triple A with a triple A anymore. It should now answer to a triple A with a triple B. So A, B, B, B. It has learned that correctly. So it says B, now I'm going to say C. So I'm saying C, C, and when I again say C, it will answer with triple A, because triple A is the answer to triple C. And it does blink indeed 3 times its first LED of the output. That actually concludes the experiment, and I can continue that indefinitely, like I can now again put in 3 Bs. But the point is that the Arduino has now learned through the challenge-response learning mechanism implemented in it how to correctly respond to patterns according to our wish of cycling through AAA, BBB, and CCC. Thank you for watching the first experiment. Now I will reset the Arduino and prepare it for the second experiment. The second experiment is somewhat more complex, though fundamentally the same thing happens. The second experiment is going to handle this time input and output with history. As previously discussed, history can also be seen simply as another kind of pattern. And fundamentally, handling input and output with history is going to be no different than the previous input and output of general patterns. Because history is simply an extension of the pattern, it is nothing different. So, this time, again, we're going to input and output patterns of 3 elements. But the meaning we assign is going to be different. We're going to say the first pattern element represents the oldest history and the most far away piece of context. The second LED is going to represent a more recent piece of history and a more closer context, if you will. And the third piece of the pattern will represent the present, like basically what happens now. And each time a new pattern is learned, like each time a new pattern element comes into the pattern, the oldest piece of history will be forgotten. All the previous history will now become a little bit like older, and the new history will also be implanted into the pattern. We're going again to teach it the exchange of A, B, C, and so forth. But as we're now doing it with history, we're going to teach it this way. To input an A, you must really first input a B as oldest history. Then, a little bit more recently, we heard a C, and then most recently, we see an A. All right? To get a B, it means that the oldest history was a C, then at some point came an A, and the present is the B. And the C is very simple. It means a lot of time ago, you got an A, then you got a B, and now in the present you're having a C. So you're having really the patterns of B, C, A, C, A, B, and A, B, C. These are the patterns which the system will learn, and it will learn them precisely in the same way as it was shown in the previous experiment. So, without further ado, let's input an A. That means B, C, A. B, C, A. It imitates us, just as in the previous experiment, because it knows no better answer. Now we're going to give a B by inputting C, A, B. C, A, B. And it is going to answer C, A, B. It did. Now we're going to teach it the final element, which is A, B, C. So A as oldest history, B as more recent history, and C as most recent history. It imitated us again because it knows no better answer. By again giving it an A, in other words, the history of B, C, A, we're going to close the circle, and from now on the system is going to interact with us the very way we want it. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, and so on. So now I'm going to say B, C, A, and it does say C, A, B, because a B follows the A. If I now answer it A, B, C, because a C follows the B, it is going to answer me with B, C, A, because an A follows the C. So, All right. I am going to say A, B, C, and it says B, C, A. All right. The second experiment, therefore, can also be concluded as having been successful, and the system did learn a pattern exchange just by learning challenge and response pairs. Now, the third experiment, I am resetting the Arduino for it, is going to be a little more interesting. This time, we want to teach the Arduino that X shall be treated the same way as A, and therefore X shall be followed by B, the way that A is followed by B. That means that X and A shall be taught to be analogous. By doing so, the system will finally learn a proper response to X, although it has no preset instinct which is giving it a response to X. It must conclude it by reasoning. First, we're going to establish the triple A, triple B, triple C sequence the same way we did in the first experiment. And then we're going to implant a triple X and have it learn the proper response as a triple B. All right, let us establish the circle. 3 times A. A, A, and further A. A. 3 times B. 3 times B. 3 times B final. 3 times B as an answer. Now, the first element of 3 times C, the second element of 3 times C, and the third element of 3 times C. It imitated it, all right. Now we're going to close basically the circle, and the system will have learned that triple A is followed by triple B, and that is followed by triple C, and so on. All right, we're going to have an exchange the same way as we have taught it to do in the first experiment. And now, after my final A, it is going to answer me with a triple B. I'm going to answer it with a triple C. And it is going to answer me with a triple A, upon which I'm going again to answer it with a triple B. So far, there is really nothing new. We have repeated so far only the last experiment, the first experiment, and the system has now learned to count triple A, triple B, triple C. It does answer me with 3 C's. In the regular cycle, I could now input again 3 A's. But rather than that, I want now to input the 3 X's. Because the 3 X's are in the same place as the 3 A's, it will learn that they are, in fact, analogous. It will at first have no response for triple X, so it is just going to pause and have no output whatsoever. And that basically means that I then have to reply something on the triple X. Basically, it means that it will now learn by imitating me. So I'm now going to say 3 X's, first one, second one, and third one. And now it pauses, and now it is ready to accept the next input. So I didn't know what to do with the triple X's, but it has noted that they came, and it is now basically asking me back, so what do you do? I have no output. What would you do with a triple X? And I'm saying, oh well, nothing special. I'm just going to answer that with triple B. So, first B, second B, and on the third B, it is going to answer me with 3 C's, because it knows that the triple B is to be answered by a triple C. To that, I can certainly reply with a normal triple A. Again an A, and again an A. It is now going to say triple B, and I can say a triple C. to which it will again reply a triple A, right? I can say to that a triple B. We have basically re-established the cycle as it was in the beginning. And when I press a triple B, it will again reply with triple C. And now I would like to know, did it actually learn now that the proper response to triple X is triple B? That should have been the case, because I have shown it the situation of triple X. It had no idea how to respond on triple X, but I then responded to it with a triple B. So it should have learned that triple X is replied to by triple B. We will see that this is indeed the case. So I say X, X, and once again X, and it replies with triple B. This actually demonstrates that the unknown anonymous input's reply was learned by concluding that this must be really similar to the behavior of an A. It means that triple X should be followed by triple B. In that spirit, it is time for the last and actually, unfortunately, most hard to follow experiment. I am again resetting the Arduino for that. That last experiment is going to teach the Arduino again that an X is analogous to an A, and that the answer to X should therefore be B, because B is the answer to A. However, this time we are again going to take into consideration past history. So we are fundamentally having the pattern A, B, C, and so on, but each of those is going to be preceded by its history. So A really is to be input as BCA. B is to be input as CAB, and C is to be input as ABC. Okay, you know that actually from the second experiment. We're going to start by inputting A, by inputting BCA. B, C, A. B, C, A. It imitates us. It has no idea how to reply to that pattern so far. Same thing is going to happen when I say CAB. C, A, B causes again an imitation. And finally, I'm saying C by saying A, B, C. A, B, and the most recent history, that is the present, is a C, being simply exactly imitated. Now we're going to close that circle, and from now on, the system is going to reply with each next letter. It is now participating in the counting. So I now said A, B, C, and now I will say A, B, C, so this is B, C, A, right? So a C shall now be followed with an A, and it will answer me with a B. And after the C, I'm now saying A. So B, C, A. C, A, B. It did answer me with a B correctly. I'm now going to answer it with a C, which means I'm going to say A, B, C. A, B. And when I say C, it will answer me with an A. C. B, C, A. Correct. Now I'm going to input a B, which means C, A, B, right? C, A, B. A, B, C. It replied to the B with a C. So far that is absolutely correct, and it is following simply the cycle of ABC, ABC, and so on, which we established in the second experiment. Now it is time to teach it about X, about the anonymous input. Now would be normally the phase to input again an A, but I am not going to use an A, I'm going to use an X. So I'm going really to tell it not BCA, but BCX. And it will issue a reply to that. So B, C, and now X. If you watched carefully enough, you will notice that the system replied with CAB. Why does it do it? Well, because BCX is in fact similar to BCA. And by comparing the past challenge reply pairs, the system understood, wait a moment, BCX is kind of similar to BCA. And I know a reply to BCA, which would be CAB. So the system already correctly guessed that the reply to X is in fact B. The problem is it didn't actually learn that. It just guessed it correctly by looking at the past. It made a correct conclusion, but so far it is all just guesswork. It doesn't know that it should be so. It simply was the most similar pattern. It kind of guessed it correctly. I'm therefore not satisfied with this, and I'm going to continue the experiment. I'm going to push X further into the past, and I'm going to reply with the B to the B with a C. All right, so the system told me CAB, and I'm going to answer to that not ABC as normally, but XBC, because I insist that I want that we now handle the anonymous input. So I'm saying X, B, C. It is now saying BC pause, and then it is blinking again for input. Why does it make that pause? Because it doesn't know how to handle an X. It does understand that XBC should now have been followed by BCX, but it has no output for X. So it simply says the faraway past was a B, the more recent past was a C, and the current present situation is, well, something which you call X, but I have no output for that, so I'm just waiting. And I'm saying, oh, don't worry, I'm going to give you as a response to the X, to this situation of X, a B. That way, the system is going to learn that the proper reply to that problem is in fact a B. So I'm going to say C as the most far away history, X as the more present history, and B as my present response. So the answer is CXB. C, X, B. Now the system makes a pause and then it says B and C. It can't somehow output anything on the oldest history because it doesn't know how to output an X. But it does understand that the B should be normally followed with a C, so it answers with a pause, then a B, and as a present reply, a C. Now it would be a good idea to simply re-establish the present pattern of ABC, 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 and so on, the way we had it before. So on the system's C, I'm simply going to reply with an A. I'm going to say therefore B, C, A. It does answer to me now with C-A-B. It does answer my A with a B. That is correct. I will answer now the B with a C by telling it A-B-C. A, B, C. It does answer me with B, C, and a pause because it doesn't actually know how to output an X. It is like to ABC I should say something with an X, but I don't know how. And I'm saying, don't worry about the X at all. Let's say that I'm not talking about X anymore. I'm now going to just talk about A. So I'm ignoring completely that it didn't handle an A, but I'll simply say, I insist that we now talk about A. So I'm going to say, as if the A was told, and I'm going to say C-A-B. I'm replying with a B to that what I think should have been an A. So I'm saying C, A, B. And it does tell me A, B, C. It answers with a C to my B. That's correct. I'm going to answer to its C with an A, which means BCA. B, C, A. And it is saying CAB, which is the correct response to that. To this, I can then say ABC, like because I'm replying with a C to a B, A, B, C, and saying BCA. I'm going to say now CAB, because B is the answer to A, C, A, B, and it is going to tell me ABC. ABC. Okay, we have re-established our normal cycle of ABC, ABC, and so on. But I'm curious, hey, did you learn that the correct reply to BCX is a B? Did you learn that X is to be treated like an A and that you're going to answer me with a B? It is going to answer on BCX with CAB. Why? Because we were teaching it that the X doesn't matter that much. It shall treat it like an A. Therefore, it treats my X like an A and delivers a corresponding reply. So BCX will be answered by CAB. So B, C, X, CAB. With this, the fourth and last experiment has been conducted successfully, and it has been shown that the Arduino is capable of learning based on a challenge-reply mechanism. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you're having any further questions, you may wish to consider to have a look at my website, which is at sites.google.com/site/logical triangulation. There you will find, as initially explained, other theories of mine regarding an artificially intelligent reasoning mechanism, as well as an exact description of how I conduct this Arduino experiment. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a happy exploration of artificial intelligence. Goodbye.